Hey guys, welcome back to DMAC Customs on YouTube. Dave here in the garage, Area 51's clock. Yeah, I'm gonna put my ear ride gauge in it, and yeah, updates on that too, so let's get into it. Okay, so if you go back a few videos where I was farting around with the bloody ear ride and wiring and stuff for forever, you know, going from that kind of switching system to my custom thing and stuff, and I had a technical issue which I still don't know what caused it, where I burnt out this particular little gauge. Now this is a like a 5-position gauge, or kind of 5 things. It shows off the tank pressure and then the 4 corner pressures for the airbags, and it just fritzed it. It just, little puff of smoke came out of this and it was all over. Had a few suggestions. My brother got in touch with a couple of ideas of what may have caused it, well, how to stop it happening again, sort of thing. I didn't do any of those. Thanks, Rob. I got a new gauge set up, and it came with a new gauge. I couldn't buy this on its own, so it came with a new gauge, a whole new wiring harness, and 5 new sensors. So I just spent this morning refitting all of that. I've also got rid of that, which was a single core. You know, the wires inside here are just one strand of copper, and I kept breaking them, so I imported some more wire, like a kind of like a trailer wire, which was suggested to me as well, but the trailer wire I could get locally was only had 7 cores in it, and I needed 8. So I got this stuff here, so I've kind of redone that whole harness, and I've run it all up the back, and I had to unpick all of my stuff that I'd already tidied up, but we'll tidy it all up again. I just kind of want to get this ear ride gauge kind of mounted, and yeah, at this point it still works. So I haven't managed to burn it out yet. I have wired the new gauge into a different circuit, so up under the thing here, and I've put a 5-amp fuse on it, so it's just hanging down loose at the moment. Still got a lot of tidy up to do on all this wiring, but yeah, I kind of initially had it wired into the same, you know, 12-volt power sources. All my switches and stuff like that were coming from. I don't know whether that caused this one to go or not, but sorry, I'm just looking at my gauges. Those gauges there are... Yeah, it was weird. Those gauges were both sort of sitting, one was sitting at 100 mile an hour and the other one was sitting at 6,000 RPM, so I don't know what that was. But anyway, see, that works again. What was I saying? So I got completely squirreled then. Yeah, so I've wired it on a separate circuit, so on one of the accessory circuits, kind of away from everything else, and everything is working again now. I did have a little bit of trouble with my new harness that I made. Things were kind of not working the way, and then it just turns out I hadn't plugged it in properly into the valve manifold in the back. So make sure you plug things in properly and get them seated before you start pulling everything apart and resoldering stuff. Yeah, but yeah, so today's plan is to kind of do a bit of modificating on the old clock, which I now have put somewhere, oh, it's over there, and figure out how I can mount my new gauge, not this one. I was just going to use this one for mock-up and stuff, since it's already kind of busted, and yeah, see how I can kind of put this into that clock body over there, so we can mount that up on the dash there where the clock goes. Since the clock doesn't work anyway, so well, I don't think it works. Yeah, I just want to, you know, utilize that. You know, it'd be cool to keep it as a clock, but since it doesn't work, and I need somewhere to put this gauge that isn't too kind of rude, I'm going to put it in this housing. So we'll set about seeing how we can pull this apart and get into it. Okay, so looking at the old clock, I'm not really sure how it comes apart, if it comes apart. I think there is rivets and stuff that seem to be kind of holding it, but we may have to grind out these little rivets and to get the fascia off to be able to pull the guts of the clock out, if you know what I'm saying. I think these are to do with how the clock was powered before, so I'll have to I'll take those off for a start, see if that loosens anything up. I don't think it will. I think there's a little screw there, don't know what that does, and then you've got the time adjuster thing there, so we'll kind of slowly start picking it apart, see how we can get into it. Okay, I actually got a total squirrely moment and went over and grabbed to get some long nose pliers and came back with that screwdriver. Okay, I'll just undo these two little tiny little nuts on here, but like I say, I think these are like the power and grounds and stuff for the clock. I don't think they're anything to do with holding it in, but I'll take them off anyways. See how they're kind of isolated, they've got little rubber isolators. Okay, well, it does make it move around a bit. Let's have a look at that, see what that does. Does it unscrew anything? Alright, how am I going to get that off is the next question. Yes, I'm pretty certain these two little, this 1, 2, 3 little brass rivets, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to take those out. What does that one do? Yeah. Oh, well, I'm going to figure out how to grind those down. We're going to do a little die grinder or just get the old power file out and give them a little sideways zip. Alright, kind of taking them down. I'll just see if I can push out those rivets. See, I'll just put a mark on there. That mark, that goes to there if I need to block this. There we go. Oh. Just like that. It's rattling around in there. So there's the old little clock mechanism. Pretty cool. Oh, lost a bit out of it. Oh God, I don't know where that went. Yeah, so I think it might have been one of those that I lost. Whatever that might be. Just a spacer, I think. Okay. They look like they were actually tiny little brass screws and not rivets. Those things I just ground out. They had no head on them other than a little flat head. But yeah, so we'll look at still using the housing, but we just got to want to mount one of those in there somehow. So it looks goodish. Goodaroo. Okay, so what I thought was little brass rivets are actually little brass screws, but they had no kind of like slot in them for a screwdriver or nothing. They were just smooth, but they are actually threaded. So there you go. So I had to use forceps to get them out. It was a bit of a microsurgery. So that's them out. Anyway, I'm just looking at the bezel that goes around there. It needs a bit of a polish. It's a bit grubby. This gauge actually kind of fits in it quite nicely, but I have no kind of idea yet on how I'm actually going to hold that in there, like what's going to hold it. Because I mean, it could sit like that. I did think about, you know, keeping the glass and that in it, but there is a button on this gauge that you can switch it off and things like that if it gets on your tits, you know. So yeah, I've got to figure out a way to mount one of these in there like so. It would be good if it had a little bit of a lip on the back here. I wonder if I could build it up with something like electrical tape or something, something rugged like that. Or if I got any plastic pipe, some PVC pipe, I could actually make another little thing. We'll have a look. Okay, I've got a bit of an idea. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but so I'm going to have to put some screws of some sort back in here. I found these little wood screws, whether they will sit flush enough to get, oh, they should be alright actually, but giving them a dual purpose, if you know what I'm saying. We can go like that, and then, because this has got you know, 3 little dimple things around the side, so I can figure out which is, if there's a top and a bottom for this and the way that it sits in the housing, which I'm not sure that there is. We can maybe kind of do something like this. I'll kind of run the screws in until they sort of touch. Might have to kind of cut them down. You know, like that. Is it that simple? I mean, that's all kind of wonky at the moment, but how far back could it go? No, so that would actually sit right in there like that. And then we just might have to cut these screws down. Might take a few screws to kind of get the cuts right. So figure out how much we've got to take off them. It's made it a bit crooked. Which one's done that? Yeah, but I guess if that's gonna work, I have to figure out. Oh, so it keeps pushing it off the side. I did have a look. So that one's touching. I had a look to see if I had some like PVC pipe or something that I could slide in and kind of thicken things up at scotch, but nothing quite do it. That goes like that. It's kind of weird. Every time I tighten it up, it gets all on the piss, but it's a good start. So, but before I go too much further, I've got to figure out whether there's a top and a bottom on this. So I'm gonna grab a pen and figure that out. So there is a. Is that a bit bent? Doesn't look terribly round anymore. What happened to it? I did drop it once. Okay. So there is a top and a bottom. Ah, look. What is that like that? Interesting. So, I currently have this, I think, upside down. So, we'll go, that's my top. See, T for top. So now I've got to figure out whether all my stuff kind of lines up, you know what I'm saying? Might just, yeah. Okay, so just got to do a quick confirmation of where the actual top is on these gauges. So I've put the battery back on. Switch that off for now. Oh yeah, so my top is, that is centered at the top. And so that button is my mock-up one. So that's my top there. Alright, sweet. Okay, so that's where it comes unstuck with that plan, because I was kind of like lining up these 3 little screw holes on the cup. But yeah, where my top is, it's not going to work that way. But the concept could still work. I just wish it wasn't so loose. If I drilled new hole, oh, I can't do that either. I could still potentially put screws through, you know, kind of just sit on like that. But it is going to be hard to kind of get them just right, because the screws kind of want to go off on funny angles. They're actually just like little wood screws, not little machine screws. Unless I just wrap duct tape around it. Is that rude? Is that janky? Would it work? Don't know. I could still put little screws in there if there's duct tape in there. At least it's kind of softer and kind of grab it, and I won't be like running the risk of poking holes in that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'll have a think, have a rummage around the garage and see what I can find that might work for this task. Just kind of pack it out a bit. Yeah, so I've been rummaging around in the nuts and bolts and screw drawer, and I actually found some little machine screws that fit in those 3 things like way better than these little wood screws. Now that would have been not so cool. I'm just trying to figure out whether if I wrap this in a strip of rubber, not wide like that, but cut it down and kind of fill that out, and whether I kind of glue it onto the gauge or tape it or something. Oh, I probably could. Got some high bond double-sided tape, that might work actually. Yeah, cut a strip of this, which is quite, you know, it's about an 1/8 inch, about 3mm thick rubber. Wrap it, tape it around there, and then I can kind of center it up and use these little screws to kind of like just square it up and kind of lock it, so it kind of uses the friction of the rubber stuck to the plastic of the gauge and the tension of the screws to kind of hold it in place. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if I should do a complete mock-up with, yeah, I will. Need a knife. Okay, so I only want 1/2 inch 10mm strip, so that'll be enough to go around if I cut it that ways. Not quite, maybe just. Or should I just cut this 10mm off of there? What am I doing? Go, just gonna eyeball it. You know what I'm saying? Don't need to be too accurate, I don't think. Just like that. Should be square up the end a bit. Drop that in the rubbish bin that's overflowing. Mark that about there. There's my nick. Yeah, like that. So if I get it to, you know, I might just put a little bit of, actually, because if I use that tape, it's going to make it thicker, isn't it? Now, what have I done with it? There it is. Yeah. How's that for cheap? Hey, it's expensive, that stuff, so you gotta, you know, trim this up a bit more close to the rubber. Give it a clean the dust off. 5 minutes getting this backing off. Oh, come on, man. Alright, so it's the top, so doesn't really matter, I guess. So, will this work? I suppose I coulda. If this doesn't work, I could go into a more advanced route. Have to cut the back of that off. Maybe. Sorry, just thinking out loud. There we go. Okay. So my top is there. And that's my top there. These started. I'm not sure if these are going to be long enough, to be honest, but yes. Right, now that, ladies and gentlemen, actually might work. It's a little bit, obviously there's a little bit of potential for it to get wonky, and I have got it upside down, but you know, if I experiment with it a bit more about, you know, when I tighten it up, it could, you know, like it doesn't push in, it's got sonar. Yeah, I reckon that could work. It's a little bit on the piss actually, but like I say, with a bit of tuning in, it might actually be okay. So I'm going to take it apart and see what sort of damage it's done to the gauge. Make sure it's not too extensive because I don't want to damage my new gauge. You know what I'm saying? The other question is, will these screw heads get... Oh yeah, they should do. Okay, sweet. I was just a bit worried that the screw heads might be too big and not get past that thing there. So that just clips in like so. Choice. Beauty, right, I'll take this apart and see what it's done to the inside. Okay, so it actually looks pretty good. You can see like the little screw marks where the screws have landed, kind of right on the edge of that rubber. But peel that off and have a look to see what it's done to it. Nothing. I think we're good. So that's my plan. That's how I'm going to mount that in there. So that's my mock-up one. So now I have to go and unplug the good one, and yeah, and put my little rubber strip on there. I'm going to make this hole a bit bigger as well though, because I've got to be able to get to the plug in the back, and yeah, it's like, so I can get my finger in there, but probably not far enough to get the plug without kind of pulling on it and stuff. So I did consider just zipping off the back of this, but I'd rather actually just kind of open that up so I can get to it, but to keep the integrity of the cup, if you know what I'm saying. So I might just do that before I go too much further. Just wonder if I can use a step bit. Have I got a big one? Have a look. Okay, so I have got a big step bit, but it is a bit of a janky one, so I don't know how successful it'll be. Don't know how I'm going to hold this either. I wonder if I try scratching my painted parts, spectacles. You know, that probably ain't my work. It just that whipped it out of my hand pretty quick. Anyway. Told you it was a janky step bit. I wonder if I've got another one I can get down a bit further with it. Try that one. This was actually a really good one, but it's got a couple of blunt steps in it, but it might get me where I need to go. Is it on the hammer setting? No, it's on the drill. Why did it sound like a hammer? Might be enough. Might just go and have a little experiment. Okay, so that should work. I'm just trying to clean off my kind of burn through the steel with my shitty drill bits marks. Yeah, those I need to get some new ones. Actually, those step bits are pretty roached now. Yeah, as you can see in there, it just kind of like burnt through it. So it's left a bit of a yucky bit in there. Overhanging, which will be quite sharp on the cable. So I might have a grommet that might fit in here, I don't know, but you can have a look. Get as much of this off as possible though anyway. Most of it's coming off. Punched myself in the solar plexus. Sternum under the tooth. I was able to kind of grab it in the vise on those kind of flat parts, so I wasn't actually, putting much. I didn't have much tightness on it, and that stopped it spinning, which was good. So, getting there, slowly. So what I'm trying to do is just where the plug actually ends up down on the bottom side there. I need to be able to kind of get my finger in there or something in there to push the little locking tab out the way. Plugging it in will be alright, unplugging it if I ever need to will be the tricky part. I think that should do it. So I might see if I've got a wee grommet just to protect my cable as well before I go too much further. Get a little bit of auto sole, metal polish. Clean up this the inner edge of that chrome there and the outer edge as well, but just to give it a good clean now before I put the gauge in, and then never clean it ever again. Yeah, it's going to come up good. Couldn't find a grommet, so I'm going to put a bit of like rubber hose, fuel hose over the actual wiring sort of thing, and I'll just tape that onto the wiring just to kind of protect it. I think that can be too heavy. I don't want it kind of like stressing the plug, you know what I'm saying? Sweet. It's good. It's done. So got the new gauge, so I just got to put the rubber on that, and then we should be good to go. Right, so it's my top there. Is that right? Yes. So I'll just get that done and get it back in here, so get it tuned in, so we can then go and hopefully put it back in the car with the housing, which I have to find a bit of, there's a bracket that goes up underneath. I have to find that. Should be somewhere. I've seen it lots of times, but I just haven't got to putting it in yet. Alright, so that's in there. Still sits a little crookedish. It's not bad. I wonder if I can... It's good enough. Good enough. That's it. Yeah, it is. It's good enough. Don't think it'll go anywhere. It's not a really a push button. It has got a button on it, but it's not really a, you know, constantly poking at the thing. So I've got to find the bit for that, and then we can get that put in. Still got all the hardware on there, nice, yeah. And then yeah, plug this thing in, put it up on the dash, and see what she looks like. Alright, so this is the other part of what goes up in there. It goes up that away, up underneath. So I just got to fit that up, tighten it up, and yeah, it should be good to go. I don't know why you need that, but it must just distribute the load, you know, I guess, on the dash. So I might just get a clean rag and kind of wipe the dust away from there before I do that. Alright, ready to rock and roll, I think. Just get these screws off of this thing and the washers, hopefully. Screws, nuts I should say. Get the nuts off of this. So the big washer goes on the back. Almost dropped it. Just like that. So it's actually adjustable. Alright. Okay, so that goes. I'm going to get past all the wires. That goes up in there like so, which I might get a couple on there, get them started. Right, that one started. Watch, it's hanging me up. Yeah. Oh, no. Yep, good. Now, last one at the back there. Little socket. This little damn-it. Alright, so I don't imagine, because of that bracket that goes underneath kind of being pressed in that the way it is, you probably don't want to just like crank that up to the moon and back. You just want to give it a little, just a little tickle up sort of thing. Now I forgot my rubber hose that I was going to put on there. Be back. Okay, so my rubber hose won't go over the plug, so I'm just going to put a slit in it and feed it over that way, you know what I'm saying? So I'll just get that done. Like so. See, I might just put a cable tie on that. Where's that going to need to go to? Where's my gauge? So that's going in there. Alright, so you want to bring it a bit of a ways in. I'll probably cut a chunk of that off actually. I don't need that much. That'll cut the weight down as well. Yeah. Trim it up, make it neat. Tish. Oh god, making it worse. That'll do. Might just wrap a little bit of tape around there. Or a little zip tie. No, a bit of tape. Should be good. And we should be ready to put this in there. As long as we can get the plug to plug in. Oh, here's the thing. Now that I've got my big rubber on there. Doesn't want to bend. Screwdriver. Should be it. Yep. Alright. Install. pinch the finger trick. Look at that. Oops, a little bit. Why is that crooked? Yeah, so he's in, but my gauge is crooked. This does make it a little harder to see, but from the driver's seat, it's all good. I can see it, but I've just got to pull it back out again and make it straight. That's better, I think. Slightly. Let's have a look from the passenger seat. Yeah, sorry, the driver's seat. Didn't park. Yeah, man, we can still read all that, no problem. Why does the car feel wonky? Why does the seats collapsed? But yeah, so there we have it. Gauge installed and not going smoky smoke yet. I'm going to leave the little protective film on there for now though. Oh, that back corner is completely aired out. What is that? That's better. Yeah, for some reason that right rear corner completely aired out. I did notice earlier with that air manifold, I'd been playing around with it and then I could hear it hissing, and it was actually hissing out of the exhaust. So I came in and I just hit the down button, just gave it a little pulse, and it actually stopped it, it sealed it, sort of thing. So sometimes the solenoids don't completely seal up in those manifolds. So yeah, a fella mentioned in the comments that he was ditching all this style of setup and going for a full kind of manual air valve kind of setup. So I'm not sure 100% what they are, like whether they're like a actual air valve, or whether you're still using solenoids in some way, but more the old style solenoids. But don't know. But yeah, I get that after going through all of this to get all of this working, but it all works now, which is good. I keep forgetting that it won't work while it's not in park, like the switches won't work, which is for our cert thing. Hopefully they are happy with that. Probably won't be. They'll probably have a grizzle about something, but yeah, so that works. And so my air gauge is mounted up where the clock used to be. Boy, look, she's in. So good to get that little hole in the dash cleaned up. Pretty much done with all the wiring and that now. There's one more little job that I'm going to do probably in the next video, which is coming up, next, and I guess. And then I can kind of put away all this crap that's over the other side of the car and clean up all my mess properly, and pin up all my harnesses and put my trays and that over to cover that stuff up, stop them rattling in the back when I start the thing up, which is good to see it still goes, because that's the first time it's been started in, well, no, I started it this morning, sorry, tell a lie. Started it this morning, and then, but today is the first time it's been started, and probably since just after I drove it. I started it once when Carl from Bunny's Garage came round, and I kind of fired it up so he could hear it in person, and I think he liked it. Did you like it, Carl? Let us know in the comments. Like the audio experience anyway. There's so much all this metal rattling in the back, it vibrates and rattles, and it just sounds like an absolute shitbox when you're inside it. But it's kind of cool, just quietly. But yeah, so that's the air ride pretty much done. I am thinking I still might change out the switches to like chrome toggle switches and get rid of those plastic ones. Just, I don't know, just the plastic ones, they're okay. It'll probably all be alright once it's in the console and all that sort of stuff, but I don't know, the toggle switches might kind of feel better for the period, if you know what I mean, even though I've got EFI and all the fucking Bluetooth and all that kind of stuff. I don't know, it's just, it's an aesthetic, like a look, and the plastic switches are kind of bothering me a little bit, so we may revisit that if I can find the right ones. I have got one here, a toggle, three-way toggle switch, on, sorry, what is it, off, on, off, no, off, on, off, on, yeah, that's what I need. So I might like do a bit of homework and see if I can scab some of those up. But yeah, another thing coming up is front glass. People have been asking, what are you doing with that? Keen to see how you're going to do it, stuff like that. Been working in the background on a bit of a plan for that, so I've got a little bit of I've got to get some stuff. I've got to get some stuff that I can, and then we can do it. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll have a bit of a look-see at the windscreen, or the first stage of it is what it's going to be, and I'll explain a bit more about it when we get there. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed at this point, do it, man. Just subscribe. It's free, and you can see what's coming up on this beauty. Sorry, I've been suffering a little bit from project fatigue. So, yeah, but anyway, subscribe anyway. Like, share, comment. Did I say that already? I don't know. If you're interested in some DMAC Customs merch, not this one, not this design, it's not on the website, but go to dmaccustoms.com for your quality AS apparel, print on demand merchandise. That'd be a great way to support the channel and help me make poor decisions financially, move ahead with this project. And another way to support the channel is to watch the videos, like, share, all that kind of stuff. Comment, get the algorithm going, get the channel going and growing and all that kind of stuff. That would be awesome. And yeah, but that's where we're going to leave this one. So thanks as always for watching, and until next time, take it easy and peace.